In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to I think this is going to be the first video I put on the briefing. There's a lot of conjecture and there's a lot of arguments going on about George Soros. So, I printed out some articles, I found the list of stuff he funds, and so we're going to go over all of it. And I think by the end it's going to be pretty clear what George Soros is about. Based on the evidence, he's a liar. Okay, he's got billions of dollars, and you'll see his mindset. I'll show you in a couple videos. He says, I'm engaged in amoral activity, and he's just got like this twisted, mindset where it doesn't matter what he does. Nothing is, morality doesn't matter in certain situations, and in other situations it does. So it's like a pick and choose, where you want to be moral and where you don't, and you just think that's okay. Alright, well, let's start with this. It's George Soros. It's like a bio. Let's see. Born in Budapest, Kingdom of Hungary, 1930, August 12th. Let's see. He had a net worth of $8.3 billion in May 2020. And see, that's just like the money in his pocket. So, having donated more than $32 billion to the Open Society foundations, which we'll go over. He's got he funds over 200 different organizations. It's incredible, and that doesn't mean he fully funds them, but he gives money to them. And when you give money to people, you get something back. Okay, don't fall for that. Bill Gates gives millions of dollars to the World Health Organization, and he doesn't get anything out of it. That's just money he just gives away for free. No, they come to him and they say, all right, thanks for the $100 million or whatever. What do you want us to do? So it's not just, don't fall for that BS. That's complete nonsense. So when you give someone money, you get something back. You don't just give away money for free. Us commoners do, because we care about people. But these billionaires, they didn't get to being billionaires by giving away money for free, okay? So that's a little bit of bio on him. Let's just go through some of these headlines. I'll go through some of these headlines. I'll get my mind in the right zone, and then we'll come bust through them one by one. Anti-gun billionaire George Soros pumps $18 billion into his political apparatus. I think that was in 2017. I should have had the dates on these. George Soros-backed DAs, district attorneys, are undermining American justice. More liberal DAs backed by activist George Soros win office. George Soros funded 12 liberal district attorney candidates and 10 won. The EU could collapse the same way the Soviet Union did. George Soros warns. Soros aims to transform the justice system by funding DA races. George Soros in Davos 2020. The election will determine the fate of the world. And then a speech he gave, remarks delivered at the World Economic Forum. George Soros funds over 200 organizations. Here's the list. Let's go over some of these. This thing's a mile long, okay? And here's their sources. The people who did the research, let's see, it was discoverthenetworks.org, so you can check it out for yourself. I'll put it on screen. Here's their sources. It's 43. It's 20 pages of links. So, all sources cited. I always make sure that the source is not, anonymous. So, let's go through these, and let's go through some of the ones that are noteworthy, ones you might have heard of, and then pay attention to the names, because people who are anti-freedom just tend to use names that say one thing, the name of the organization is one thing, and then they do the opposite. And then naturally, people these days, they don't question it. They say, oh, their name is this, that's what they stand for. No, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. It's like the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not a government, institution. The Federal Reserve is private. So, I mean, just remember that. Amnesty International, Aspen Institute. Those are some that I've heard of. The Brookings Institute. That's a fun one to look into. Here's a great example of that. Catholics for Choice. A nominally Catholic organization supports women's rights to abortion on demand. No. They're not Catholics, okay? I'm not even Catholic. But you can't be a Catholic and support abortion. No, you're pro-abortion. You're not Catholic. Catholics and Alliance for the Common Good. Let's see, generating blah, blah, blah. Yeah, generating support from the Catholic community for left-wing candidates, causes, and legislation. Whatever. And George Soros isn't a Christian either. He says that... Just wait. You wait till you see the video. George Soros says that God was created by man. Change America Now. Formed in 2006, Change America Now describes itself as an independent political organization created to educate citizens on the failed policies of Republican Congress and contrast the record of failure with promise offered by a Democrat agenda. Whatever. Color of Change. That's systematic racism pervading America generally and conservatism in particular. Founded to combat the views. Earth Justice, Feminist Majority. The Free Press, classic. Human Rights Watch. Opposes the death penalty in all cases. Supports open borders and amnesty for illegal aliens. And how easy is it to just say no death penalty and open borders when you're a billionaire and you live up on a mountain somewhere and it doesn't matter. You don't even, the country you're in, you own it. You know what I mean? You're not affected by anything. You got to remember that. Elites, they're not affected by any of these choices they make. They literally could care less which way it is. All they want is a better angle of control. So you better believe that it's not in your interest because they're not affected by it. Let's see. Media Matters, that's a classic. They're always, suing people. MoveOn.org. The NAACP. Everyone's heard of that one. They're always suing people. New America Foundation. New America. Global governance. Environmentalism. Healthcare. And, they're not for private healthcare. It doesn't even say, but you just know they're not. So it's just Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger. If you haven't looked into Margaret Sanger, I've got a video on my old YouTube channel about Margaret Sanger. Southern Poverty Law Center, another classic. They're always suing people. So a lot of these he just dumps money into, and then small time people, people with radio shows and anyone talking, they just sue them. They sue them and they don't have to win. They just sue them, and then that makes them have to pay for law, a lawyer, and they have to pay for the court cases and all that stuff, and it's millions of dollars, and usually they just bankrupt them. So this lawsuit had no basis. They get shut down, and bing bang boom, you still won. So it's stuff like that why our society is so screwed up. Amnesty International halts India operations after freezing of its bank account. India kicked him out. Check that article out. It's a CNN article. Let's see here. Remarks delivered at the World Economic Forum. Side turned against open societies after the crash of 2008 because it constituted a failure of international cooperation. This in turn led to the rise of nationalism, the great enemy of open society. So, open societies is his main vehicle for funding all these other small things. He dumps in money to open societies. Open societies funds all these smaller groups. And he says, he just defines everything by an open society, what an open society looks like. And that's an opinion, you know what I mean? Open society, maybe what I think is an open society is a society that where people, don't bother you, and, it's open for freedom, and, it's an open free market and this and that. But see, what he thinks is an open society is very far from that. You don't have any freedom. They decide everything for you. You have open borders, and you don't have a choice. That's not open. So, open society is defined by opinion, but that's another case of wordplay, where it's where they call it an open society, and it sounds great, and it sounds, it sounds like a utopia, but it's just far from it. It's what a billionaire wants. Why would you trust these people? And I know a lot of you don't. But people are crazy. They trust these people. They take what they say for granted.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours, who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
For example, that I'm Jewish, and here I am watching these people go. I could just as easily be there. I should be there. None of that.
Well, of course, I could be on the other side, or I could be the one from whom the thing is being taken away. But there was no sense that I shouldn't be there, because that was, well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets, that if I weren't there, of course I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it away anyhow.
Why is it that Americans can't invest in the quantum fund? It's an offshore fund. Why is that?
Because the fund is not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We are not
licensed to do business in the United States.
That's right.
Because?
Because we are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Because we find it more convenient to operate without it.
So in some ways it's to escape regulation.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've been sitting here talking about the need for regulation.
Yes, and whatever regulations are imposed, we will obey. We already confirmed to everything.
All right, so I mean, right there, he's got his fund offshore. He dumps a bunch of money into the U.S. stuff to dictate what the U.S. does, and then he has it all offshore, so it's tax free. It's not taxed by the U.S. The SEC can't get involved. But he makes a bunch of money, he scrapes it all off the U.S. And people are mad about Trump because side note, because he used the tax laws normally and he didn't pay himself very much in a paycheck, and he put most of his money back into the business, so he only paid a little bit in taxes. Any smart businessman does that. You don't hear anybody complaining about George Soros, who's been screwing us over for 20 years, scraping money out of our country and shooting it over into his offshore bank account and then using it against our country. You don't hear anybody whining about that. Of course not. Of course not. What's with that? Oh, gosh. All right, we'll get back to that video. Nationalism, far from being reversed, made further headway. The biggest and most frightening setback occurred in India, where a democratically elected Narendra Modi, the president in India, is creating a Hindu nationalist state, imposing punitive measures on Kashmir, a semi-autonomous Muslim region, which is basically land that the Muslims came in and just stole and occupied, and like the UN and nobody in the area would let Modi take his land back. And the reason he gets along with Trump so well is because Trump said, dude, take your land back. I've got your back, you know. And I think he sold him some weapons and stuff like that. Oh, and he wants to start like this global college that teaches everybody about, you know, how to be a commie, basically. You can look into that. It's called like OSF. George Soros and Davos. Election will determine fate of the world. I mean, Trump was right about this. These alarmists always demand the same thing. Absolute power. He's talking about climate change. Crazy people. Absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. Yeah. Climate change, guys? It's the ultimate weapon because, of course, you're worried about the environment. Of course, you're worried about your planet. Of course, you're worried about nature. I am too. Everybody is. But see, they hijack that. They know we naturally care about our planet. And they hijack it. They hijack the whole movement. And then they say, okay, the Earth's, you know, going to hell. The only way to fix it is to pay us carbon taxes. So you're going to pay the elite taxes because you drive a truck. Or taxes because you drive a car. Or taxes because you have a motorcycle. What is that going to do for the planet? Nothing. But it's another form of control. It keeps you from getting you know, any traction, any money, getting enough money to get a business going or anything. They don't want to be challenged, and that's the point of the world government. That's the point of everything George Soros does and all these elites, because they're tired of, like, they're not tired of it, but when you're that rich, you don't care about making any more money. Okay, like, I've had people tell me like that. They're like, why would Bill Gates care, you know? He's already got all that money. Why would he care about, you know, making more money? It's like, he doesn't care about making more money. He cares about control. He's spending that money for control. Let's see. George Soros aims to transform justice system by funding DA races. Now, this is how he really gets it. He goes into state elections, and he gives like millions of dollars to like small campaigns that usually get like $100,000 max, you know, for their campaign. Since 2015, he has spent more than $17 million on district attorney and other local races in swing states. This was written in 2019. Soros spent nearly $11 million to help 12 candidates running in local district attorney races in 16, demonstrating a tactic to put Democrats in office up and down the ballot. Criminal justice reform efforts may take many forms, says Soros. Soros influenced elections taking place in Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, Mississippi, 2 in Mississippi, Georgia, and Florida. The amount of money we are talking about is staggering, Marquis said. It is amplified because it's extremely difficult to raise money as a prosecutor. Soros didn't stop at district attorney races. However, he reportedly gave $2 million in an effort to defeat Maricopa County, Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who lost in his re-election bid. Forbes figured George Soros' wealth to be more than $24 billion, making him 19th richest person in the world. And those numbers mean nothing, because that's just the money in his pocket at the time. All right, here we go. Kim Gardner is a Soros agent, essentially. The McCloskeys in St. Louis, remember, they defended their house with the guns, and his wife didn't really know how to hold a gun. It was apparently a prop gun. It wasn't even a real gun, but he had an AR-15. Yeah, Kim Gardner's the one charging them. She's paid by Soros. Kim Fox, the one who dismissed the case against Jussie Smollett. Soros. Chisa Boudin. I'm unsure where to start with San Francisco District. Chisa Boudin. Let's see. God, I had some info on this. Oh, what? Former, advisor to Hugo Chavez. Former translator for Hugo Chavez. He is another beneficiary of Soros-tied contributions who recently defended the movement to defund police. We will not prosecute cases involving quality of life crimes, public camping, offering or soliciting sex, public urination, blocking a sidewalk, etc. We're going to decriminalize poverty and homelessness. and they just continually create homelessness and allow it to just destroy their cities. Boudin was a public defender before defeating the city's top prosecutor after promising sweeping criminal justice reforms. He is the son of parents who were members of the radical left-wing Weather Underground. He grew up with his parents incarcerated for their roles in an armed robbery that left 3 men dead. I'll have to look that up. I'm pretty sure it was like an attempted robbery of over $1 million or something, like an armored car or something. I remember the Weather Underground pulled some crazy stunt like that and failed. Okay, Boudin is also one of a number of district attorneys participating in Truth, Justice, Reconciliation Commissions, teaming with the Grassroots Law Project, an organization co-founded by Sean King, who's a white guy, by the way. Go watch Brandon Tatum's video of exposing Sean King. It's outrageous. The dude's not a black dude. He's not black. He's so far from it, it's not even funny. Larry Krasner, Philadelphia, another Soros op, threatens federal officers with arrest if they storm local protests. Calls it vigilante activities. How is it vigilante when it's the federal police? Come on, man. Philly has seen a 10-year high spike in homicides and gun-related crimes in minority communities, as well as an all-time low in morale within the ranks of the Philadelphia Police Department. Orlando State Attorney candidate Monique Worrell is also backed by a group linked by Soros in her quest to fill the seat that will be vacated by... I can't read these stupid names. Aramas Ayaya, who is also supported by Soros. Worrell's platform calls for an end to cash bail, which would result in more defendants being released before their trial. She also says that incarceration should be a last resort. Oh yeah, here we go. Those who do not pose a threat to physical safety of others should not be placed behind bars. See, that's another opinion statement where they go, they don't pose a threat to the physical safety of others. Well, who says? They do. They say. So even if it's a rapist, should they have been released? Under all these new rules for the new magical 2020 year. Oh yeah, Worrell's opponent Ryan Williams has cited the Soros connection as a point of attack, and Worrell has accused Williams of playing an anti-Semitic tropes. Classic. See, you don't like George Soros, you're anti-Semitic. Even though he was essentially a Nazi, he helped the Nazis, he admits it. He said it was the best time of his life. So here's a list of DAs that George Soros funded. The EU could collapse in the same way the Soviet Union did, George Soros warns. The people of Europe need to wake up before it's too late. If they don't, the European Union will go the way of the Soviet Union did in 1991. The EU is experiencing a revolutionary moment, and eventual outcome is highly uncertain. Yeah, because of Brexit. Brexit in the UK, widespread civil unrest in France, and influential right-wing party government in Italy. Rebirth of far-right politics, anti-migrant policies, Hungary and Poland on a path towards potential disciplinary action with the rest of the EU. Disciplinary action? No wonder Brexit, no wonder, the UK wanted to get out. How are you going to have these unelected people at the EU tell your country what to do? And you do something and they go, oh, now you're going to have to be disciplined. What is this world coming to? And this is the kind of crap that goes on, and this is what they want the US under. They want the North American Union. When it comes to Italy, Soros said Europe had made a fatal mistake in 2017 during the migration crisis when it enforced the Dublin Agreement, which meant the migrants arriving on European shores had to claim asylum in the first country of entry. What's wrong with that? Incredible. Soros wants to take your guns, What's new? Open Society has worked closely with the Joyce Foundation and given grant money for their projects. They're the chief financier of the Handgun Prohibition Organization. See, they say we just want the assault weapons, we just want the AR-15s. Well, why do you fund the handgun? Let's see, I've got some definitions here. Let's get back to this George Soros video. Let's check this out.
The operation of his businesses and is giving away his billions now with the same determination that he made them in places like Haiti, a country that has less money in the bank than he does. Last month, he brought the First Lady with him for a look at some of the projects his foundation is funding.
This is Mr. George Soros, and he's going to be helping the hospital.
To understand the complexities and contradictions in his personality, you have to go back to the very beginning, to Budapest, where George Soros was born 68 years ago to parents who were wealthy, well-educated, and Jewish. When the Nazis occupied Budapest in 1944, George Soros' father was a successful lawyer. He lived on an island in the Danube and liked to commute to work in a rowboat. But knowing there were problems ahead for the Jews, he decided to split his family up. He bought them forged papers, and he bribed a government official to take 14-year-old George Soros in and swear that he was his Christian godson. But survival carried a heavy price tag. While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews. These are pictures from 1944 of what happened to George Soros' friends and neighbors.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
And you watched lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
In what way?
That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events, and one is threatened. It was a tremendous threat.
Soros told us he believes God was created by man, not the other way around, which may be why he thinks he can smooth out the world's imperfections. When we went with him to Ukraine, he was treated like a visiting head of state and was received by the president. Then he was received by the prime minister and finally the central bank.
20% in cash.
They even allowed him to look at the books and asked him for advice.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
Yeah, all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister of Malaysia said that the region spent 40 years trying to build up its economy, and along comes a moron like Soros with a lot of money, and it's all over. He called you a criminal.
It's easier for him to blame an outside force than to admit that they were mismanaging their economy and their currency.
One of your money manager told us that, George really does think he's a god.
So George Soros is just basically, he works with a bunch of friends of his, I'll put this article up. They're called the Good Club, and they want to save the world. Hilarious, another wordplay, just a bunch of BS. Bill Gates, George Soros, Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, David Rockefeller, Ted Turner, and others. The meeting called by Gates, Buffett, and Rockefeller held in response to the global economic downturn and numerous health and environmental crises that are plaguing the globe. It was in some ways a summit to save the world. Bowl. This was in 2009. God, I can't even stand these people. It's just like, it's outrageous. So I think George Soros is the financer. Okay, that's his job is the money. Bill Gates, a lot of us know what his job is now. Warren Buffett's pretty quiet. Oprah Winfrey, she does her thing. The Rockefellers, I'll do another whole show on the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers are, man, they go deep. They own our country, guys. They own it. They bought it a long time ago. It's insane. You should see what they do with the CIA and the emails they have with the CIA. It's incredible. They just get whatever they want. All right. Well, yeah. So at the end of the day, George Soros wants the guns. Okay. He supports Kim Gardner, who won't let you defend yourself. He supports Kim Fox, which, so they support, fake hate crimes. They want to defund the police. That Budin guy says that. Larry Krasner will arrest the federal officers. They support the riots. They're anti-handgun. They're anti-nationalist. This is all stuff they say. They're anti-sovereignty. They're pro-UN, which is pro-world government, as you all know. So what do you really think about George Soros then? Let's see. Here's what George Soros has to say about the president.
I think we're almost 24 hours away from the inauguration of the 45th president of the United States. Where does he stand in an open society?
Well, I have described him as an imposter and con man and a would-be dictator.
It lost you a lot of money. What are they seeing?
Well, because the markets see Trump dismantling regulations and reducing taxes. And that has been their dream. So their dream has come true. I personally am convinced that he's going to fail, not because of people like me who would like him to fail, but because the ideas that guide him are inherently self-contradictory. A danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner.
But alright guys, if you like this video, I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did, I'll make a second video. But like this video, subscribe to the channel, spread the word. That's the biggest thing, is just spreading the videos. If you learn something, tell other people. This is 2020. This is no joke. We're almost out of time here. Just wait. Just wait. We're going to cover the other subjects soon. There's so much going on. There's so much to cover. It's infinite information. But subscribe to the channel. I hope you like it. Give me some feedback in the comments if you think I should do this or that, or if the cameras suck, or if the audio sucks, let me know. Sorry if it does. This is the first long video I'm doing. But alright guys, this is Lars from The Briefing.
Trump without the humility.
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Thomas Jefferson. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.